Hello and good evening. I hope everyone's well at home. My name is Avril and I work at the BDA in Scotland. Now, today's edition of BSL Blethers, our topic for discussion tonight, as you can see, it's down below. We're talking about healthy eating and the menopause. It really is a hot topic. Some of us refer to it as the change of life, or some say the menopause. But I am sure women up and down the country understand the menopause, and maybe some men understand too. So tonight, our discussion is going to be all about that. And I'm so grateful that we have someone here tonight who's got so much knowledge about food and how it relates to the menopause. So I'm delighted and excited to introduce you to Naomi. Hello, Naomi.
Hello, everybody.
Lovely to see you. Could you possibly introduce yourself briefly, just your name and your sign name?
So my name is Naomi Goldman, and I have a sign name for my curly hair. I'm a qualified nutritionalist, nutritional therapist.
How long did it take you to learn that?
The course I studied for about 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
So it's quite an intensive course, yeah. It takes a long time to qualify.
Can I ask, what was your motivation or why did you start doing this course? Thinking about food and how it relates to your body?
Well, just briefly, I tried to keep it short. I love learning. I love science and learning more about science. And also I love working with people. So when I qualified as a nutritional therapist, I decided that I was able to decide what specialism I was going to work in. I'm now 45 years of age. And so I really felt that the menopause would be a demanding area. And so I could kind of relate to that too. I could empathize with people going through the menopause and
Mhm.
thinking about nutrition as a support. It's also a really interesting area. There are many women who don't realize the symptoms of menopause, and there are
Mhm.
quite a lot, more than people think. And so that they may realize that the symptoms are problematic, but they don't realize that they're actually related to the menopause. So it's kind of an important area, I think.
Well, tonight we have got this amazing opportunity to quiz you, Naomi, and all the questions we want answered.
I'm
But
in
where
down
did you?
south in England, London.
Yeah, that's where you. But you studied before somewhere else.
I studied in Germany, and then I studied in England, but then I moved to Germany. But I still needed to learn, so I did some things through flying over and some things through virtually. I mean, it was difficult as well as a deaf person. The communication wasn't always simple, but sometimes it involved me flying, which was not great. So I'm glad I finished.
Well, you've been learning for such a long time and all the courses, and obviously going into being a qualified nutritionist. And you've been involved teaching and within the deaf community, or did you do anything through COVID?
That's an interesting question, as I was learning to become a nutritional therapist, and honestly, I didn't know that didn't think I'd be working with the deaf community. I thought I'd just be in the hearing world, but I kind of knew a few deaf people after I qualified, and then after I started questioning them about nutrition and the menopause, I didn't realize that I could work with deaf people.
Hmm.
And then also COVID happened, and everything moved online. Everything was via Zoom, Facebook, and that made it much easier for me as a deaf person, much easier to communicate. It's very difficult to lip read through the internet anyway, and people, it doesn't make sense. So it was much easier for me to work with deaf people.
So during COVID, did you have sort of lots of Zoom meetings with women and possibly men? How many? Well, tell us a wee bit about that. Was it mostly women, or was there some men involved?
Mostly women, I have to say, a few men for sure, but mostly women. And I would say now maybe 85% of the clients I have are women, and so 15% are men.
Wow.
And they want to often improve their health, for sure. So that, I mean, it's a low percentage, but some.
Well, tonight we're looking to focus on two things: eating healthily, exactly what you've been trained to teach us to, but also how eating healthily can help with the change of life, can help with the menopause. So, really, that's what we want to sort of drill down tonight, looking at the change of life because it affects all women at some point in their life. We sometimes get information through TV, media, magazines, but it's always talking, and we never get the opportunity to talk it in BSL.
Mm.
So, we thought this was a perfect opportunity for our watchers at home, just to get involved in this discussion. And as usual, please put as many questions you like in the comments box, and we'll do our best to ask Naomi all the questions.
And
And hopefully
hopefully
you
I'll be able
answer.
to answer them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's kick off then. So the first thing I want to ask you, just straight basic, what is the menopause? What does it mean, the change of life?
So the menopause means it's when the female hormones, and we have two different hormones
Okay.
as women, principal hormones. The first one is called estrogen,
Okay. I can see that coming up on the screen.
and the second one is also a female hormone. The second one is called progesterone.
Okay.
So those two hormones, when you're going through,
Oh, hang on a wee second. Can you just explain what the difference is between the two of them?
so they're two different hormones. The first hormone, estrogen. So the two go through cycles, and they rise and fall throughout the cycle of your period. And so they're
Right.
kind of helping the period, of course, is helping you prepare to have a baby, to get pregnant. And the level of the hormones rise and fall depending on when in your cycle you are. And so when you're more fertile, you're more ready to have a baby. So your two hormones never floor. They're always like slightly rising and slightly falling. So you go through a cycle and it happens very slowly. When you arrive at the menopause, it means that your periods are so in the menopause. When you're in the menopause, it would mean that you haven't had a period for a period of 12 months.
Right. So you can't have a period for 12 months.
Yes.
Okay, got that.
So your periods would have stopped for 12 months and then you're in the menopause. If you're in that period when your periods are stopping, but you haven't had a 12-month period, we call that perimenopause.
Right, got you.
And that's before the menopause. So
And how long can that be?
I can give you the average is around 10 years.
Wow.
It can be 15 years, it can be 5 years, but on average, women might experience the perimenopause for 10 years.
So let me get this straight in my head. So you could have perimenopause 10 years before you actually go into the decline of menopause, if you like, when it goes down.
Well, it means you're gradually those hormones are going down, but they'll fluctuate as they're going down.
Yeah, but then you have postmenopause. What does that mean?
Yeah, so post-menopause, then you have a very low level of the hormones. They've kind of like grounded. So you have these three phases. Perimenopause, which is as it
Okay.
fluctuates, but it's going in decline, the both hormones. The menopause is the 12 months of no periods, then post-menopause when you have very low levels. And so that gradual reduction in those hormones can cause a variety of symptoms like brain fog, which is very well known for some people.
Seen that word popping up now and again.
Yeah, it's when you kind of don't feel like you can think clearly. Night sweats is another one.
Yeah.
Hot flushes.
Yeah. When you're talking about night sweats, you're talking about in your bed where you're saturated.
I mean, the sad thing is it can happen at night. It can happen during the day as well, although it does happen at night more commonly. You can have hot flushes, fluctuations in mood.
Okay. And that's all involved in perimenopause.
You can feel bloated. You can get suddenly bloated around your tummy area. You feel more anxious, have period bouts of anxiousness or even
Mhm.
depression. So there's quite a lot of symptoms that can occur. And that bloating often may also because you gain more fat more easily around your middle as well, because your hormones are decreasing, so you can store fat around your middle area.
Okay, so we've got the perimenopause. Is
And
that
those symptoms can start during the perimenopause, but they can carry on through the menopause as well. And it's important to say that everybody's slightly different. So it's not that all women experience it the same way. And it's not that you might only have one of these symptoms. I'm just talking generally, these are symptoms that happen in the perimenopause, but could go through the menopause as well.
okay? So let me get this straight. So the perimenopause can last up for 10 years. Menopause is when you don't have a period for 12 months, and then you get into postmenopause.
Yeah. And again, you can still have some symptoms through that postmenopausal period. You could have brain fog. You could have difficult losing that fat on your tummy and losing weight. You can also suffer from a disease, which means it's easier to break your bones.
Okay.
Yeah. So your bones can become more brittle. Do you need to take care of that?
Oh, that's so interesting. But could I take you back to talking about the age that maybe you would start with the change of life? What age is the general age?
So around 50 on
Okay,
average.
so 50 plus.
And again, I'm talking about averages. Some people start to experience the menopause much younger. That can happen. Some people a little bit later, but on average, it'll be around the age of 50.
I mean, some people say it depends on your kind of family history and things like that. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
true?
Yeah, absolutely. But it can also be influenced by your food, your nutrition,
Okay,
and your lifestyle.
lifestyle. Yeah.
So there's quite a few factors involved.
Okay. So, right, okay, I think that's really clear. So we're going through the change of life, but at the same time, we should really be thinking about what food we intake. So, could I ask you, I suppose quite simply, is the foods that we should be taking the healthy foods? Or rather, in fact, could you give us an example of healthy foods, the foods that are suitable to take during the menopause?
So there's one important group of foods that I want to talk about, and they're called phytoestrogen.
Could you say that again, please? Thank you.
So that's phytoestrogen.
Okay.
It's a
What does it mean?
long word. So it's a specific group of foods that can help to boost the female hormone levels.
Ah,
And I'll give you an example of those.
tofu?
Yep, so tofu, that can help.
Okay.
Here's another example.
What's a flaxseed?
So it's a seed. It's called flax or linseed, and that
So
can help.
what do you use that on?
You could sprinkle it in yogurt. You could sprinkle it on salads.
Ah,
If you're having granola in the morning, you could add it to
mm,
that. If you have a smoothie, if you're a type of person who has a smoothie,
yep.
then you could just put some in there.
Can you show our audience again the
Absolutely.
package? Thanks. Ah, and where would you source something like that?
It's now quite easy to buy. You can buy. I mean, I think I bought that one from Holland and Barrett,
Okay, another
so
one.
more a kind of specific health food store. But you can actually see it in quite a few shops. So just keep an eye out. I mean, also you can buy it on Amazon if you're feeling like you don't want to venture out of the house.
Well, what's the other
Here's
one?
another one: edamame beans.
Okay, I'm trying to look at the spelling of this one. Okay, tell me about these beans.
Oh, I love these. And this is the same group. These are the phytoestrogens, and they help boost the female hormones. Very easy to eat.
Ah, okay, and it gives you that kind of energy boost.
Yeah. But there's kind of some other food. So garlic, for example, is good for you. Onions are good
Okay,
for you. Let me think. Also, fruit. So, peaches,
Oh,
broccoli.
okay.
So, there's quite a few in this food group which are really good for boosting your hormones.
I know you've got a picture. We'll show the audience at home this now. Okay, so that's a picture of different fruits and seeds that Naomi has been suggesting that we eat. Okay, so that list is really useful, and all of these things are suitable.
Yeah, and it really helps to boost your. So if you have a bad like your symptoms uh, escalating, you don't feel so great, and you know that it's probably to do with this fluctuation in your hormone levels that are gradually decreasing. If you eat from this list, it can really help you. Obviously, it varies with different people, different women. Some foods may be more suit some women, other foods other women.
I suppose what you're suggesting this is that this group of foods is an option for women.
Yes, but I suppose my experience is that often people generally don't eat enough vegetables.
And is that important?
Yeah. So vegetables have really good nutrients inside.
Okay.
They're really important generally to help your body work better. And also, they have high fiber content.
Okay.
And that high fiber helps with your gut health. Now, remember I told you that lots of women through the menopause has problems with their gut, bloating.
Yeah. What do you
So,
mean by the gut?
so like your tummy.
Ah,
Your food is passing through and being broken down in your in your bowels, in your gut. And so your gut health is very, very important to take care of as you're going through the menopause. Because within your gut, you have loads of different bacteria.
okay. Let's
Let me,
fingerspell that again.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll do
thank
that
you.
slowly. Yeah,
Okay, bacteria.
bacteria. So I generally use this sign, a kind of B with a spreading bacteria. And so, first of all, there's good and healthy bacteria, which you want in your gut. And also, there's kind of like what are called bad bacteria. If you have too much bad bacteria, then that can really affect the kind of balance of hormones that you have in your body.
Okay, so that definitely is all linked together.
So that's a good thing to remember.
Thank you so much for that. That's great. So we spoke about examples of some good foods to eat. So could you now give us an example of what would be the food you would really want to avoid? The sin food.
Well, here's one example.
Oh, not
Crisps.
crisps. No.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Also,
Chocolate
chocolate,
too.
milk
Kind of,
chocolate.
kind of thought that. Okay, but milk only? Well, how about dark chocolate?
Dark chocolate is good.
Oh, really?
It's very healthy, yes. You want to try and make sure it's over 75% cocoa, so the kind of chocolate element.
Ah,
But these are bad. Crisps and milk chocolate. And another one,
pasta?
white pasta. White pasta.
Ah, white pasta.
So let me explain why these are kind of bad, as it were. This group has high carbohydrates, high
Okay,
carbs,
and that's not good.
but they're called simple carbs. So what we mean by that is that when you eat them, they're broken down really quickly in your
Okay,
digestive system. So, I mean, hold me, let me go back a bit so I explain it more clearly, right? So, if you're having crisps or milk chocolate, when it comes into your stomach and into your digestive system, it's really quickly converted into simple sugars. So, it's broken down and converted into sugars. And that sugar then flows around your bloodstream really
okay.
fast. And so that can kind of give you that kind of like blood sugar high.
Okay. Yep.
And that
So
can
that
be
would
a problem
affect.
because what happens is you have a spike of a high and then a crash of a low. And so if you have this spike of up and down and up and down, that's no good for your hormones.
Okay.
So that's just one example of the things I would say you should probably try to avoid: crisps, milk chocolate, white pasta.
I'm still can't believe you're saying dark chocolate is okay. Milk you can't. Oh,
Well,
it's
the
killing
reason
me.
is because in this white chocolate, or this milk chocolate, you have a lot of sugar. It's a high sugar content, and also dairy, cow milk. So it's high in sugars. Some of those are
Okay.
hidden sugars. But in dark chocolate, it has higher cocoa solids, but it's high in magnesium.
Ah,
And that's a
and that's important.
really important element. It makes you feel relaxed and calm.
Ah, that's so interesting.
So I would recommend eating 1 or 2 squares of dark chocolate.
Is there any sort of plan B for crisps? Because I love crisps. I don't know how I'll change from crisps.
Well, you could make your own crisps.
Okay.
So in your kitchen at home, you could roast kale
Okay. Yeah.
so it becomes crunchy. Add a tiny amount of salt. Be very light-handed with the salt. Or you could add herbs instead to give it some flavor. You could roast chickpeas.
Never thought of chickpeas.
Chickpeas. You know the
Okay.
small chickpeas?
Yep.
This is often people use this sign for chickpeas. So if you roast chickpeas, and they again become that kind of like crunchy texture.
Okay.
I mean, I think often for crisps, what people like is the texture. So it takes time to change and get rid of your bad habits
Oh
because
yes.
obviously
Tell
we're
me
used to
about
doing
it.
those. I mean, habits, we're used to doing it, right?
Oh, thank you so much. That information has just been amazing. So I'm just having a quick look to my screen because there's some questions coming in. So the first question we've got is from Francis Hill and it's now up in the screen. And I'll just sign that for everyone at home. What can we do to prevent breaking of our bones? Do we eat more dairy?
Calcium is the element that we need, the nutrient that we
Okay,
need. So let me try and remember what you can find that in. So fish. So you often find it in the bones of fish. Let me think. So sardines,
okay,
but you need to eat everything, and including the bones, and that'll help.
okay.
I'm also trying to remember what other things are high in calcium.
So if we focus on calcium, that's the thing that will help the bones.
Yeah,
But dairies, again, that wouldn't work.
you're talking about cow's milk, right?
Yeah.
It's best to avoid cow's milk, to be honest.
Okay. Right. Let me go back and see. We've got another question coming in. Honestly, no, mate, the questions, there's huge amounts coming in. So this
Good.
questions came from Ruth, and here it is. When you boost the female hormones through phytoestrogen-based foods, the aim is to reduce the flushes and obviously improve your mood and reduce anxiety. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Definitely that food group can help. So with tofu, for example, it can help boost the female hormones. And that's specifically the hormone estrogen. And that hormone itself makes you feel good. Makes you feel like, if you have a high level, you feel in a good mood, you have less anxiety. So if you're perimenopausal or going through the menopause, then you know that your hormone levels are dropping. So there's more risk of you being in a bad mood. So that's why if you have the phytoestrogen food group, then eat from that group, then it will help you
Thank you.
improve your mood. Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh, thank you so much. Right, let me get back to my own questions that I have for you. Okay, bear with me. Actually, you've gave us so much information. I'm having to look through the questions to find one that I haven't asked. Okay, so you've been talking about food, and it just sprung to mind that a lot of people now are changing and becoming vegan. Is that a good lifestyle that will help with menopause?
That's a good question. And I suppose there are two different types of vegan. You can be a good vegan, which means you eat very healthy food, lots of vegetables, lots of beans, like lentils, legumes,
Yep.
pulses.
Okay.
So that's a good vegan. A bad vegan, as it were, is what you might call a brown vegan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
the
What's that
nickname
mean?
for it. Well, it means you kind of eat lots of pasta, you eat lots of potatoes, you eat lots of rice. And that's not really a healthy vegan lifestyle, just to eat lots of those foods. And some people, when they eat in a vegan diet, they'll be low in vitamin B12 and also maybe vitamin D and iron. So we would recommend that you get your blood tested to see if you have a deficiency in those to make sure you have the appropriate levels for iron, vitamin B12, and vitamin D.
Okay. So if we eat lots of vegetables and fruit, we're going to get a lot of vitamins from them. But you mentioned like the potatoes and rice. If you have too much of them, it's not good. Is that
No, if
right?
you have, exactly. If you have too much of them, then it's very carb heavy and that can affect the blood sugar. So remember, I talked about those spikes. You have
Yep.
this high spike and low spike.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get it.
So really, you want to have a high vegetable diet, which means it's high in nutrients, which really helps the body to work better. But vegan people can eat tofu, can eat edamame beans, they can eat flax seeds. All of those things are fantastic.
I suppose it's like everything else. You need a balance. You're really having to look at the carbs as well and the
Mm,
sugars. Thank you so
absolutely.
much for that. Okay. So I'd like to ask you, oh, hang on. I think we're getting more and more questions coming in. Oh, I've just saw a question and it's from Colleen. And Colleen's question is, it's about sweating and hot flushes. Now, she's actually been going through, she's in recovery from cancer, and she has to use hormone tablets called letrozole for 5 years. She's tried everything to reduce sweat. Is there anything you can do?
So I'm not clear on the question, but let me first explain. When we're talking about cancer, that's not my area of expertise or experience. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that. Often, when you have cancer, it could be that you're having chemotherapy, and that chemotherapy can affect your body in a variety of different ways. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't have experience in the area, so I'm not sure I have an answer because it may be the medication. But in terms of trying to reduce the sweats, it could be that you want to eat phytoestrogen foods from that food group, and eat healthily. Cut out white carbs, so white bread,
Okay.
white pasta. Reduce that as much as possible. Eat as many vegetables as possible. Make sure you have high fiber. So there's lots of different things.
Okay, thank you. Well, Colleen, I hope that answers your question. Because as you can appreciate, Naomi, some people have maybe been through treatment and at the same time they're maybe going through menopause
Yeah,
and it happens at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and if that happens, some nutritional therapists actually specialize in cancer. So
Ah,
offering nutrition through cancer. I have specialist training for that. And I don't have that specialism. I really focus on the menopause. So they might be
thank
able
you.
to offer better advice.
Thank you for explaining that. We have another question in from Lou. And again, is what about brown pasta or rice, brown rice or pasta is okay to eat?
Yeah, that's fine. But again, you need to be careful about the quantity. So brown rice is good, brown pasta is good. But that's obviously if you have no problem with gluten. Some people have a gluten sensitivity, but I would still say, even if it's brown rice or brown pasta, don't eat too much.
A pie?
So yeah, so if you think
Oh,
about your food, the plate that you put on your food,
plate, sorry.
yeah, sorry, the
A
plate that
plate,
you put your food on,
sorry.
half of it should be vegetables, a quarter of it should be brown pasta or brown rice, a quarter,
Okay, a quarter.
yeah, brown pasta, brown rice, and then the remaining quarter, protein.
Okay.
So that's how you should do half, a quarter, a quarter.
Right, I'm going to try my best to summarize. So we've got plate, half of it should be vegetables, a quarter should be rice, and the other one, what was the last quarter?
Protein.
Ah, that's right, protein. Can you give me an example of protein?
So chicken,
Okay,
tofu,
lovely.
fish, egg,
Ah, okay.
they're all good sources of protein.
Do you have any sort of like tips for women out there that, I mean, we're not talking about the flushes that happen at night. We're talking about the ones that happen during the day, of how they could do reduce the flushes that happen during the days, like sometimes to go to work and they're on the bus and all of a sudden it happens, they can feel it coming on. Is there any advice that you can give us?
So, first of all, remember not to stop breathing. Do
Okay,
deep breathing. Often, women who are going through the menopause maybe have difficulty dealing with stress because of the hormonal change.
okay, that makes sense.
When the hot flush happens, it can cause you a bit of anxiety and to start to worry. So, you kind of have to remember to stop yourself and
Hmm.
breathe, because lots of people don't breathe well anyway. You have to kind of think about deep breathing, breathing in through the nose, taking the breath down, holding the breath, and then breathing out through the mouth. And just trying to relax. So that's one tip. Just kind of like take a moment, breathe. Make sure you drink lots of water. I always have my water bottle with me so I can sip water all of the time. Don't eat chocolate. And if you're having a meeting or something like that with lots of people, it may be that you just need to take a moment where you go out of the room, give yourself a moment in fresh air,
Yeah,
ground yourself.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Calm down.
Yeah, and then kind of maybe take a walk, a short walk for 2 or 3 minutes, and then come back into the meeting. So you might need that kind of moment. And always carry a healthy snack in your bag. So nuts, for example, maybe carrot sticks.
Oh yeah.
And you could have that with like hummus, a homemade pot of hummus. So there's lots of different things you could take. But always remember to breathe.
Yeah. Well, what about clothing? I remember you mentioned that certain clothes fabrics can help.
Yeah, so if you're having a hot flush, then of course you can kind of like fan yourself with your clothes a little bit just to cool yourself down. So when the female hormones are starting to reduce, then your body has more difficulty regulating its temperature.
Ah,
Yeah, so it has more difficulty kind of with that
right.
body temperature regulation. So, feel free to kind of flap your clothes a little bit to cool yourself down. And that might help to prevent a hot flush as well.
Could I ask you another question, sort of linked with that a bit? we're going back to it's milk and dairy, and well, we've actually kind of covered the milk and dairy thing. But what about like soya, oat, or almond milk? Are they good for the menopause?
Yes, so we would call that plant-based milk.
Okay,
I mean, they are healthy. So I'd say with soya milk and almond milk, that is better. And let me explain why. If we think about oat milk, it's fine, but it depends where you're using it. If you're just drinking it, just oat milk, it's very high in sugar
okay,
because it's high in carbs from the oats. And remember, I
right,
was
okay,
talking about the blood sugar might have a spike up. And it's important to kind of try to make sure that you have a much more even regulation of your blood sugar.
okay. There's another question come in for you, Naomi, and it's from Linda Richards, and this is Linda's question. What we drink is also very important. What would you recommend women should drink? Water or tonic water, but not fizzy drinks and not alcohol?
No alcohol. I
Yeah.
mean, alcohol is just bad for you. And I mean, it puts a heavy response duty of work on your liver. That's the problem. It means your liver has to work a lot. And your liver's working quite hard anyway through the menopause. Water is great, very important. But you can get bored of water. So, of course, you could add some flavor. There are different flavor infusions you can add to water.
So what is an infusion? Oh, right, you just sort of add it to it. Got you.
Yeah, yeah. So, you could add mint, lemon, maybe a cucumber, and that'll flavor the water.
Ah. What about tonic? No.
The tonic has an additional specific substance, quinine, and so that's probably best to avoid. But sparkling water's fine.
Okay.
If we're talking about hot drinks, so sage tea is fantastic.
Okay, sage, right. Okay. Haven't heard of that.
And you can buy that on the internet, and that really helps with hot flushes.
Oh, really?
So sage is the name of a plant, a herb,
Okay.
sage, and you just make sage tea out of it, and that can really help a lot.
Okay, that's new.
But there is loads of different types of tea. Chamomile,
Yeah, I've heard of that chamomile.
and that helps to calm you down.
What do you mean by that? Oh,
It's,
calm.
yeah, it's relaxing and just calms you down as a tea. Also, fennel tea, that can
Yep.
help. That actually helps with your gut, with your digestion. And it can help with the hormone, the menopause issues.
Okay. I love my coffee. What about coffee?
I mean, I love coffee too, I'm not going to lie. But I only have one coffee every day, just one. So I limit myself to that. So the thing with coffee is, I would recommend only having one, maximum two. Best to have them in the morning, obviously, because one of the ingredients in coffee is caffeine, and
That's what I do.
that can make it difficult to sleep. Make it difficult to sleep for somebody. Also, you want to have good quality coffee, so ground coffee,
Okay.
organic if possible. There's lots of health benefits with coffee.
Okay. Liking this.
It's high in fiber,
Okay.
but it has quite a lot of different chemicals in coffee, so it is good for you. But you should try and avoid instant coffee.
Okay. Right, okay.
like Nescafe or something like that.
Mhm.
Because that kind of instant coffee is quite highly processed. But if you just use ground coffee, then it's much closer to the natural form. It's more natural. So I could explain more about coffee, but I'll probably stop there.
Oh, yeah, you make me want a coffee, but just to be clear, it's all instant coffees that you should avoid,
And
not
you
any
don't want a coffee
particular.
now, it's too late.
Okay, we have another viewer with a question. Emma McGowan, it's just about to pop up. Is green tea good?
Absolutely. Green tea is very good. I forgot about that. Thanks for the reminder. Green tea is fantastic. It helps with your liver,
Ah,
helps detox, helps with the clearing out of the bad things. So it helps your liver work. And that's very important for hormone health.
ah. Could I take you back about the liver? I'm interested in this. When you were saying, could you tell us more about how healthy eating, your hormones, and then go through the change of life? How is that connected to our liver?
Okay, give me a moment. So when the hormones obviously travel around your body, they regulate your body, but they're chemicals that are regularly produced, and so the used up hormones need to be ejected from their body, and so they're in your poo. And so the way that that's processed is through your liver. So that's why the liver is very important. The liver is responsible for breaking down all of the used hormones.
Ah,
So when it's finished, it then discards them into the gut. Remember, I told you you want to have a really healthy gut. That's really
yep,
important. And so then the used up hormones are processed by the liver, put into the gut, and then come out through the poo.
got you.
So when the liver kind of breaks them down, it breaks it down into two different stages, as it were. So when it's going through the first stage, during that middle period, they're very toxic.
Okay, right. Meaning bad, really.
So if the second is not working well, then that means that these toxic hormones will start
Ah.
going around your body again. So you want to have a healthy liver to make sure it goes from the first to the second stage without a problem.
I suppose feeding the liver with good food cleans us out, makes us feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
So, when we're talking about the sort of change of life, can you give us a few sort of maybe sort of tips regarding eating? I'd heard something that you should eat 1 hour before going to bed. That will help you. I'm not sure. Could you explain?
Well, lots of women, when they're going through the menopause, have difficulty sleeping.
Yep.
And it's because of this fluctuation in their hormone levels. So the recommendation would be maybe 1 or 2 hours before you go to bed, turn the television off.
Really?
Don't look at your phone. Turn
Okay.
your phone off. It's very important because of the blue light.
Okay.
It can kind of reawaken you, as it were.
When you mean blue light, it's like the light
Mm.
come from the TV and your tablets and things.
Yeah, yeah, and it can affect the sleep hormone,
Ah,
and that means it's harder to go to sleep because it reduces the level of sleep hormone, so you stay awake for longer. In terms of meals, if you're going to bed at 10 p.m., for example, you should have your last meal at 6 p.m. So about 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed.
okay. So your last proper meal about 3 or 4 hours before you intend to go to bed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sleep.
if you're having dinner, yeah. 3 or 4
Okay.
hours before you go to sleep. And that
Why?
again helps you to sleep better. It's about making sure that the food is passed more through your digestive system, and also you don't want to have that if you have a sugar spike or whatever, that will have reduced. And then also you want to make sure that you go to sleep in a dark room, so pull the curtains,
Okay.
and also make sure it's cool rather than warm, the room.
Yep.
And I suppose the fourth thing is you could have a hot bath.
A hot bath for a flush?
Yeah, that helps some people to go to sleep
Ah,
because the
okay.
temperature difference in the bath and then in the cool room can help you to sleep. So
Okay.
that can help you to sleep better.
So maybe encouraging us all to have a bath before we go to bed?
And it's also to try and establish a pattern. So you sleep at the same time, go to bed every night at the same time, and you wake up in the morning at the same time. So you try to have a routine. So
Yep.
rather than changing your bedtime and your waking time, try and keep it the same.
That's going to be hard. That's a challenge. Life now, we're just going to have to be really strict with ourselves and say this is the time we go to bed.
And it can be hard to start with, but once you get into that pattern, you go to bed at 10 o'clock or whatever, you wake up at whatever time, but you do the same every day, you'll get used to it.
Oh, thanks, Naomi. I think honestly, every one of us will be going to our bed early, and having a bath beforehand and trying out all your tips. So I'm looking back at my list of questions again, and I want to ask you if you can explain. I don't even know if you can answer this, but when women are going through the change of life, sometimes they're given hormone tablets or HRT patches, or there's various other things. What do you think of them? I'm not asking you which is best. I'm not looking for that, but I'm assuming all of these are all related to the menopause.
So for some women, HRT can help a lot. Some women need HRT. So just thinking of one example, if you have really bad depression and really bad mood swings, then it may be that HRT actually helps with that a lot, significantly.
Okay.
Some women just need to change to be a healthy eating and a healthier lifestyle. So that nutrition is enough. With HRT, it's important that you have a healthy lifestyle too. So if I can just give an example, if there's one woman who has HRT and her symptoms start to improve, and it may be that she doesn't experience all of the symptoms, or maybe just two of the symptoms are improved, but she still have other symptoms which persist, then she should definitely be trying to engage in healthy eating.
Yep. Got you. Yep. I suppose good food can only help the situation, particularly if you're on treatment as well. We've got another question coming in, and this is from Daniel PJ Mahoney. Fruit tea is good. Keto, coconut water, coconut milk. What do you think of these? Are these good?
So if you're talking about fruit teas, yeah, that can work if they're natural fruit teas. Rose hip, for example, is a good tea. That can help. You need to make sure that what you're drinking isn't high in sugar. And then I saw the word keto.
Yep, keto, that's right.
Keto is a particularly difficult diet. It helps with some things. It can help with weight loss. It can help with improving your brain health.
Okay.
If you're having problems with a bad mood all the time, you're feeling depressed, a keto diet can help with those symptoms.
That's interesting.
But I don't want to talk about keto diets because that's a very different type of nutrition or diet. And then I think I saw coconut water.
Yep, coconut water
That's,
and milk.
that's very healthy, but it's expensive, I would say. But obviously, it's up to you if you want to. There's no harm in that. And then coconut milk, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's often used in cooking more than it's used
That's
for
right.
drinking. So yeah, I mean, it's a healthy food.
It's interesting. Colleen, one of our viewers, she's talking about these pillows that you get, and she bought a cool climate pillow and a duvet cover too. It seemed to help me, and
That's
that's okay.
great.
Excellent. So maybe that's what we have to do. We have to sort of change and get these pillows and duvets.
That's great. I mean, the other thing is it's great for us all to share our own advice. Obviously, within the deaf community, we all have slightly different experiences, so we need to share information amongst ourselves. So that's really great. There's always something, maybe a new idea that other people haven't thought about or heard about, or I haven't heard about. So that's great. That sounds a really good solution.
I'm going to ask Colleen another question because she's saying that she's on hormone tablets too. In fact, can we get Colleen's up? Oh, right, it's herbal tablets. Sorry, I apologise. Are they good for the menopause? Are they safe?
So I would say it depends what's in the herbal tablets. So for me, I would say what's important is, first of all, see if they're good quality. The quality is important because herbal tablets sometimes contain cheap ingredients.
Okay.
So if they're really cheap to buy, it may be that they're not good quality. Try to make sure you buy the best quality you can afford
Okay.
for the herbal tablets. So I'm not saying which herbal tablets, but just make sure they're good quality.
Thank you for that. There's been something I've been thinking about when we've been talking today. But do men have a kind of menopause?
Yes, they do. And it's
Oh,
called the andropause.
really? Andropause? Okay. What does it mean?
So that means, I mean, men have a hormone called testosterone.
Right. Okay. That's come up on our screen. Testosterone.
Yeah, I think it's testosterone. TT is the sign, I think.
Oh, lovely.
So again, their testosterone levels will start to decrease as they get older, in the same way that women's hormone levels. It's just a different hormone, and they'll also get more fat around their belly. I mean, we've all seen older men with bit chubby bellies, so that kind of fat. They may experience less energy. They may have mood swings as well. So again, it's important to make sure you continually exercise, eat well, eat healthily.
Could I ask you, when you look at men and they're going bald, is that from the
And
testosterone?
that's related to a reduction in testosterone.
Ah, but it doesn't mean they're going through the andropause if they're
No, no.
bald.
For some men, it's genetic.
Ah,
So they may be bald early.
maybe we should get a man in next time and we'll do andropause as well for our men. But anyway, let's talk about what's happening with women up and down the country with their brain fog with the menopause. We talk about it. It seems to be a common thing. And how do we cope best with it? I mean, it happens for no reason. Can you tell us more about this brain fog and if there's anything we can do about it?
So let me give an example about brain fog. I mean, it happens to me too, I have to say. So it might be that suddenly you're like, oh, if I'm at home or I'm walking out of a room, then I might be like, oh, I've forgotten my keys.
Yeah.
And so then I'll go back into the room. But as I go back into the room, I'm like, oh, why am I here? What am I looking for? I forget why I've gone back into the room.
Such a familiar story.
And you're kind of wanting to, like, your brain to catch up, but you've forgotten. And that's often what we call brain fog. Just when you're not
Ah,
thinking clearly, you feel a little bit foggy in the head. Sometimes if you're sitting at the computer at work and suddenly you're like, oh, what am I doing?
yep.
Feel a bit confused.
It's like the brain shutting down.
Yeah, not thinking clearly. It feels like the brain isn't working effectively.
So you're absolutely right. You've described it to a T. And you're right, you walk into places and you forget why you're here, and sometimes people you're thinking it's you've got dementia, but it's not. It's a lot of
That's a
women do
different thing.
experience that. And I know that people worry, I've seen it, but we have to be clear it is separate. The brain fog is
Yeah.
completely related to the menopause.
I mean, I think that's why, in the first place, I mean, I know for some people it's difficult, but really if you change to a healthier diet first and then see what happens, see how you feel, and it might be that you start to see some improvements in your thinking.
Okay, so I suppose it's like creating a new rota for yourself and a new lifestyle, healthy food whilst you're going through menopause, which will help you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to take pills first. It's better to do nutrition first, see what happens,
Yep.
engage with stress management. It's a lifestyle thing. Stress is a really big thing.
Stress, you're absolutely right.
Stress is a big thing that can really affect you in lots of different ways.
Can stress link with menopause in what way?
Well, I think it's harder to deal with stress as you're going through the menopause because of the hormonal changes. So the stress hormone works with the female
Ah,
hormones. So I always kind of say you have to think, if you're thinking about your body, it's kind of like working almost like music in some ways.
ah,
It's an orchestra. You have lots of different instruments working together, and you want to make sure it makes the right sound. And you want to make sure it all sounds in a similar way. But obviously, if one instrument sounds wrong, the whole piece that the orchestra is playing sounds wrong.
okay, I get your analogy. If you think about in music, they have inflections that go up and down your bodies like that with your hormones too, yeah?
Yeah, so it makes you out of balance.
Ah, got you. Got you. Okay, let me look to the questions. We've got another question. Well, you have no idea the amount of questions we've had in tonight. There's no way I can get through them all. Again, Daniel's asking a question. Have men ever taken tablets like additional testosterone to keep things under control for them?
And again, it's probably worth me saying I'm not really experienced in that area, but it's maybe worth researching. It's possible.
Thank you. Okay, I'm looking through all these questions. We've got another one again, and this is from Karen Martin. And she said, is having bloody eyes a symptom of menopause too?
So I have heard with menopause that you can get dry eyes. So
Ah,
it's actually that you're dehydrated. So I'm not sure that it's a blurry thing, more that it's a dry eyes. So it would be worth getting an eye test if you're finding it difficult to focus.
thank you. Colleen has another question, and it's regarding the air fryer that's popular. Is this good?
Yeah, because it used much less oil.
Ah,
So the air fryer is better. They're fantastic. You can make lots of healthy things there in the air
okay.
fryer with much less oil.
So oil's not really good for menopause?
I mean, that's an interesting question. So I would say olive oil is very good for you. Coconut oil is good for you. Avocado
Ah,
oil is good for you as well. Flaxseed oil is good for you.
okay.
But sometimes if you're cooking on a high heat, oil can change because of the heat. So it becomes a more dangerous oil.
Uh-huh.
So that's why the air fryer is a good idea. So, but you could also have like a salad and then you add some olive oil to the salad, for example. So it's just raw. That's very healthy because the body does need healthy fats.
Okay.
So that's very important just to make sure it works.
Oh, fantastic. Right, I'll keep that tip of olive oil in my salad. You're not going to believe this. We've been nearly chatting for an hour.
Wow.
I can't believe it. We've just zoomed through. Um, quickly looking at my questions, you've covered. I think we've covered everything on my list. There's maybe one question I would like to ask, really, and it's the final question to to for the audience. Do you have any tips, final tips, any last messages about menopause that could help women and maybe some men as well out there?
So I feel like, what I've explained through the hour, try to cut down white carbs.
Okay. Could you say that
I
again?
remember that was white pasta like this.
Thank you.
Also try and cut down cakes and sweet things.
Okay.
Also milky chocolate, dairy chocolate.
Okay.
Try and cut down your alcohol
Mhm.
consumption. And really try to make sure you eat a lot more vegetables. Try to be confident with home cooking
Okay.
and see if you can avoid takeaways, because in takeaways, they often have bad fats, they have high levels of sugar, they have high levels of salt. So lots of different things. So it's better to cook from home. Remember dark chocolate? Dark chocolate's fine.
I'm still so surprised at that.
And remember, you have to enjoy your food as well. That's really important as well. You just need to know what you need to swap. That's very important, that you enjoy. So you can still enjoy what you eat. It can be much more difficult to eat healthily if you don't know what what you need to swap what with. So say you're having orange juice,
Okay.
that's probably best to avoid that because it's high in sugar.
Oh, really?
It's better to maybe have sparkling water with mint, with some fresh mint leaves put in, or a squeeze
Okay.
of lemon in, and experiment to see what you like.
So orange juice not great?
Yeah, orange juice. Yeah, for sure.
That's a shock.
Yeah, lots of people are always shocked about that. They're like, "Oh, I have orange juice in the morning first thing," and I'm like, "Oh, that's probably not a great thing to have." It does have some health benefits because, of course, it has vitamin C in,
Yep.
but at the same time, it's very high in sugar.
So interesting. I mean, you've gave us so much useful information tonight. I'm sure everybody at the home is going to be straight in the fridge, throwing things out, and then going shopping tomorrow for healthy food. But before we close tonight, I just want to say to our audience at home, if you want any more information regarding menopause, Naomi's kindly given us our details so she can contact her direct. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, I think the first one we've got was our Facebook page. Okay, the other one we have is Naomi's Instagram account. And we also have our website. Now, don't worry about
That's
writing all these
important. That's
things
a
down.
free book. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. You're right, that is. Could you put that back again, please, about the brain fog? Yes. Could you explain a bit about that, Naomi?
Yeah, I developed just a small book. I wrote a small book about how to deal with brain fog. And so if you click on that link, you'll be able to download that book. And I think there are just like 3 simple pieces of advice, 3 tips, that's all. But if you focus on those 3 things, then that can help you with brain fog, hopefully.
Well, for everyone at home, don't worry. We're going to add all of those addresses in the comments section so you can access them later on. But I mean, what can I say? I mean, Naomi, if you could see the amount of questions we've got in after tonight, have a look. You'll see the amount. I can honestly thank you so much for your time, for your tips, for your researching and being able to give us this information tonight. We just so value your experience and information. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
I
much.
hope I hope the audience at home enjoyed.
Thank you. I've had a fantastic time.
Lovely. Bye then.